The twin sons of Ashara Prime beat down mercilessly on Darren Cole's shoulders as he trudged through the crystalline desert. His exosuit's cooling system had failed 3 kilometers back, and sweat poured down his face, stinging his eyes. The survey mission was supposed to be routine: map the terrain, collect samples, return to base before nightfall. Simple. Safe. Nothing about this planet was simple. Darren paused at the edge of a ravine, checking his navigation display. The interference from the magnetic storms was scrambling his signal again. He cursed under his breath, squinting against the glare reflecting off the violet sand. That's when he heard a sound that made his blood run cold. A high-pitched cry, desperate and afraid, echoing from somewhere below. Every instinct screamed at him to keep moving. The xenobiologist's briefing had been clear. Ashara Prime was home to apex predators, unlike anything in Earth's fossil record. The Asheran Pride Hunters, as the scientists called them, were 6-legged felines the size of shuttlecraft, with crystalline manes that could slice through duroplast. They were intelligent, territorial, and absolutely lethal. The cry came again, weaker this time. "Damn it," Darren muttered, unclipping his rappelling gear. His commanding officer would have his head for this, but he'd never been good at walking away from something in pain. The descent was treacherous. Loose rocks skittered beneath his boots, and twice he nearly lost his grip on the synthetic rope. When his feet finally touched solid ground, he found himself in a narrow canyon, its walls rising 30 meters on either side. The temperature had dropped 10 degrees in the shade, a blessed relief. Then he saw Sarek. The cub was wedged between 2 massive boulders, its small body trembling. Its fur shimmered with an opalescent sheen, shifting between silver and gold in the filtered sunlight. One of its 6 legs was bent at an unnatural angle, and deep gashes marked its flank, probably from a fall. The crystalline mane that would one day be its greatest weapon was barely more than a soft fuzz around its neck. When Sarek's eyes, 3 of them, arranged in a triangle on its broad face, locked onto Darren, the cub let out a mewling cry that tore at his heart. "Easy, easy," Darren whispered, approaching slowly with his hands raised. "I'm not going to hurt you," the cub hissed, baring needle-sharp teeth, but it was trapped and terrified, not aggressive. Darren had grown up on a ranch in Montana, had bottle-fed orphan calves and splinted the legs of injured horses. The species might be alien, but fear and pain were universal languages. He took off his jacket, moving with deliberate slowness. "That's it. Just stay calm, little one." It took 20 minutes of patient coaxing before Sarek allowed Darren to drape the jacket over its head, blocking out the frightening sight of the strange 2-legged creature. Working quickly but carefully, Darren assessed the injuries. The leg was fractured but could be stabilized. The cuts were superficial. The real problem would be getting the cub out from between the boulders without causing more damage. Darren braced his back against one boulder and pushed with everything he had. His muscles screamed in protest. The rock didn't budge. He tried again, this time wedging his climbing anchor into a crack for leverage. Inch by agonizing inch, the boulder shifted. Sarek scrambled free, stumbling on its injured leg. Before Darren could react, the cub pressed against his chest, purring a sound like distant thunder mixed with wind chimes. "You're welcome, buddy," Darren said, allowing himself a brief smile. He fashioned a splint from his equipment and wrapped the cub's leg with medical tape from his first aid kit. Sarek watched him with those alien eyes, intelligent and knowing. That's when the shadows fell across the canyon floor. Darren looked up and felt his heart stop. They stood at the rim of the ravine's 7 fully grown Asharan Pride Hunters, their crystalline manes catching the sunlight like prisms, creating rainbow halos around their massive heads. Each was easily 5 meters long, their 6 powerful legs ending in retractable claws that could shred steel. They descended as one, moving with impossible grace down the sheer canyon walls. Within seconds, Darren was surrounded, a circle of predators closing in on him and the cub. He reached slowly for the plasma pistol at his hip, knowing it would be utterly useless against 7 of these creatures. The largest one, the Alpha, Darren assumed stepped forward. Its mane was the most magnificent, edges razor-sharp and gleaming. It towered over Darren, close enough that he could see his reflection in its multiple eyes, smell the alien musk of its breath. This was it. He was going to die on a planet 13 light-years from home because he couldn't leave a frightened animal to suffer. The Alpha lowered its massive head and touched its forehead to Darren's. The sensation was indescribable, a warmth that flooded through his entire body. Images and emotions that weren't his own cascading through his mind. Gratitude, recognition, pack. One by one, the other Pride Hunters approached, each touching their heads to Darren's in turn. He felt their acceptance, their blessing, their claim on him. When Sarek's mother, he knew somehow that it was the mother, nuzzled the cub and then rubbed her face against Darren's hand. He felt tears streaming down his face. The alpha made a deep rumbling sound and 2 of the Pride Hunters lowered themselves to the ground. It took Darren a moment to understand they were offering to carry him home. As he climbed onto the alpha's back, Sarek cradled carefully in his arms, Darren Cole understood something profound. Humanity had spent centuries searching the stars for intelligent life, expecting to find it in beings that thought like humans, spoke like humans, built cities like humans. But intelligence wasn't about technology or language. It was about recognizing kindness, about understanding sacrifice, about knowing when someone had risked everything for one of your own. The Pride Hunters carried him across the desert, moving at a speed no human could match. When they reached his base camp, the entire research team stood frozen in shock, watching as the most dangerous predators on Ashara Prime delivered their colleagues safely home. The Alpha touched its forehead to Darren's one final time before the pack vanished into the crystalline dunes, Sarek riding on his mother's back, looking back at the strange 2-legged creature who had saved him. Later, when Darren tried to explain what had happened, the xenobiologists would call it unprecedented. The linguists would debate whether it was truly communication or just animal instinct. The brass would want to know if it could be weaponized, systematized, controlled. But Darren knew the truth. On Ashara Prime, under twin suns on a world far from Earth, humanity had been judged by an alien intelligence and found worthy not for its weapons or technology, but for something far more fundamental: compassion, the willingness to help the helpless even at risk to oneself. Perhaps that more than anything was what would carry humanity to the stars.